everyone. Thank you for coming. We are on event number 9 of Creative Industry Week, so we have 3 to go. Thanks so much for I've seen so many familiar faces. You've been at all the events, and we came up with this idea for you guys to do a Creative Industry Week to replace the industry nights, but give you a whole week of awesome events to just support you and to get you ready for the future and to make some great connections in the industry. I am so excited to introduce you to Katie and Ruben. They're good friends. They are pretty amazing people. So they formed Errez in 2009. Ruben formed it with his beautiful and talented wife, Katie.
Oh, wow.
They have
Thank you. That's
really
me, in case you couldn't tell.
They were recently published for a cottage that they did. It was like a 1910 cottage with some really cool artwork, and they were featured in a book for that. They've been in Ocean Drive. They've been on TV. They created their own Cuban tiles. They found these like Cuban tiles that they've repurposed, and they've recreated that line. They have an online boutique, and so without further ado, enjoy, and we're excited to have you. And thank you for bringing the Miami weather to Denver today.
You're welcome. We're going to take it back with us. Thank you. Gosh, well, I don't know, hope we can live up to that introduction. Hi, so I'm Katie Gutierrez and my husband Ruben. Thank you for having us. We're really actually so honored to be here. We got a chance to see some of your work, and we're so inspired by the talent that's in this room, so we're actually really appreciate being here because you guys are inspiring to us, definitely. So as Karina mentioned, Ruben and I started Errez Design in 2009. And so today we're going to walk you through sort of our inception of Errez Design, and hopefully that will give you some insight into maybe starting an interior design career of your own. We're not experts in business, we're just experts in our process. So since there's no one prescription for starting an interior design career for every person, we thought we'd walk you through our process and give you some insights and some sort of like learning takeaways that we've learned through our failures and successes of starting Errez Design, and hopefully that can give you some insight into either starting your own interior design career or maybe just being inspired in some way.
Yep. So we chose the title "It's Personal, It's Business" because it not only is this talk about our personal journey through our business, but also it seemed to be kind of a model for the way we've developed our business. For us, it's very personal. It's the way that we make a living. It's a personal relationship that we build with all of our clients, with all of our vendors, with everyone. So for us, it's very personal, the whole journey. So we're going to take you through that journey today.
So we think the phrase "it's not personal, it's business" is a false myth.
Total myth.
So as we mentioned, Ruben and I make up the team of Errez Design. We're pretty impressive people, as you can see. So we've been featured in many publications. We just want to like impress you at the beginning so that you'll like stay till the end of our presentation. We were recently in Luxe magazine, who called us the power couple, and that we were like the up and coming style makers. You can see our 2-page publication here. We've been in other magazines for some projects that we've done. We've had TV appearances. We've been in several books by very famous authors. And also we've been on a lot of internet blogs and featured on a lot of internet blogs as well, which actually are more important. Well, not more important, but they're more, they get clients more than print does. I mean, print gives you like street cred, but internet stuff gives you like paychecks because that's where you get clients actually.
It stays there forever for people to search, from time to come. And a print magazine gets thrown away,
So a very common question that we get asked is, how do you get started? What do you do? How do you start? Where does it all start? Well, it all starts when you're at home. And this is a picture of our home when we first got started. And so these are actually the sofa and the dining room table and the balcony where we were sitting talking about the inception of Errez Design. And it started with, Ruben and I went to college together. We actually got our master's in architecture. Not together, but we were getting our master's in architecture together at the same time. So he and I started having this like seed planted of wanting to do something together from very early on. And that seed like started to sprout and turned into like this big full-grown tree. This analogy is getting too ahead of myself. But it got to the point where it was all we could think about, all we could talk about. We're eating dinner, talking about it. We're going to sleep, talking about it. We wake up, we talk about it. And it just became this like burning passion that was so passionful that we felt we needed to take action on it. And we felt it was time, because it was something that was so consuming that going to our day jobs at the time, we worked at architecture firms, and at the time we felt that walking into our day job was so painful because it was so opposite of where our passion lied, that we felt, okay, you know what, it's time. So what do you do when you feel it's time? What we did, and what we suggest everybody do, is tell every single person that you know, that you meet, that you've ever met before, tell them what your intentions are, tell them what you want to do, tell them what your goals are, because at the end of the day, it's the people that open doors for you. There's nothing that you can do yourself without help from anybody else. So
so creating an accountability for yourself when you're first getting started, whether it's an interior design career, whether you want to open up your own firm, or wherever your path may take you, spreading that word and then making those people accountable. Like right now we have social media, we have so many ways you can just say, hey, this is where I'm trying to go. And that really helps people know where they can meet you and where they can say, well, I know somebody that might help you. I know where you can go. I know who you should meet. And that's how your doors open. If you keep it to yourself, it stays locked up as a dream and probably won't really go anywhere. So for us, I contacted one of my former employers, and she's a pretty famous interior designer and architect. Her name is Allison Spear. And I contacted her and I said, hey, we're just like not satisfied in our jobs. We're not, something's wrong. Like I think we need to make a change. And she told us, this is the time. You need to go on your own. This is it. And that was all good for her to tell us, but we didn't know where to get started. And soon enough, she found the first opportunity for us. So our first project. And that's where, one project leads to the next. So that's how it really started for us.
So the life lesson is tell everybody that you know what you want to do. So our lucky break, and everybody will have a lucky break. It might not be from a former boss, but it might be from a parent even, or a sibling, or a fellow person that you went to school with. So in our case, Allison Spear got a phone call about a project that someone wanted to hire her to do, and she said, I'm no longer working in Miami, call these people, this is who I recommend. So in our case, we came highly recommended by a very famous interior designer, and so then of course, they wanted us if she recommended us. So that was our lucky break. Everybody will have a lucky break if you just pound the pavement. So our lucky break was this small kitchen in a 1920s cottage in Miami. And you can see the before pictures on the left and the after pictures on the right. Hopefully you can tell which one's the before. So in this case, we got, I guess, lucky because these clients were really fun. They're both graphic designers working for a really big marketing company, one of the biggest in the United States. So they were really game for doing fun things. So we were able to do look, I can point with my shadow. So you'll see in the top right picture, we did a whole wall of Cuban tiles in a patchwork sort of pattern. So each tile had a different pattern, and we paired them all together to make this sort of mosaic of different patterns and colors. And then you'll see here, pointing with my shadow, we did a whole entire wall of cabinetry made out of chalkboard. So we built this little chalkboard ledge here to house the chalk, and then they went to town drawing their list for the grocery store or just a picture of a chicken. They were really fun people. So,
well, the amazing thing about this project is that we showed up with where we were. And what I mean by that is it was not like we kind of created this vision of fake it till you make it, oh yes, we're a big firm, we're gonna do this. We actually told them, you're our first client, this is it, this is the first time. And we were very honest with them. And we were honest with where we were in our careers. Like we said, this is the experience we have. We've worked for firms for 5 years. We have this knowledge. We have the capability of doing this. But this is our first time on our own. You're you're the first ones. And, we owned that starting for ourselves. So, and I think that's a great lesson, because a lot of times you'll say things like, well, when I have a couple years and a whole bunch of projects under my belt, then I'm going to branch out and do whatever, or I'm going to have the confidence to do it. And I think you got to own the moment where you're in. You know, if you're starting out and this is the first project, then be that, you know, and own that and use that, because that is leverage. You know, a lot of people will find that attractive, and these people did not want, you know, their grandmother's designer. They wanted somebody who hadn't done it before. They wanted fresh ideas, and that's what we brought to the table, and that's why they hired us. So own the moment that you're in.
Life lesson number 2. So once you get your first project, and I think getting the first project is sort of the hardest thing, and also the most like gut-wrenching thing, because at this point, before you get your first project and you've never done a project on your own before, you're like, can I do this? Am I worth it? Am I cool enough? Am I good enough? Do I know enough? Do I think? And I think that the bottom line is you're never gonna know enough. You're never gonna feel ready. You're never gonna feel like, gosh, I have so much experience and so much extra money in the bank that I think it's time and ready for me to go out, because I have all this savings that I cannot work for a year and not make money, and it's fine if I don't get that first client. And also you're never gonna feel like you know everything about construction and you know every typology of screw that it takes to screw in every type of drywall, and you're just never gonna know every single thing about construction. Even if you've been in the business for 40 years, I think you're never gonna feel like you're such an expert that you can't make a mistake. You can make a mistake, we still make mistakes, and I think that feeling like I'm ready might not ever come. So sometimes just jumping out of the boat is a next step for some people. For us, it was. So we got our first client, which was this project, like we said. And then what's the next step? So what do you do now after you have your first project under your belt? And in our case, our first project was this kitchen. When we closed out this kitchen, they continued to hire us for every project after that. We did the interior of the house, then we started doing the exterior of the house, and so on. But you have this first project, and that is your baby. Like, that is your everything at this point, because that one project is pretty much 100% of your portfolio at this point. So what do you do with that little potential, that big potential that you're holding? What do you do with that? Well, you market the hell out of yourselves. You market the hell out of that project, and you do it in every avenue that you can. So some of the things that we've done are like print, like getting into a magazine or getting into a book. Internet blogs are huge, because what that does is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like SEO, I'm sure you probably are, but that's like, you have your website, and then if someone Googles your name, you want a lot of internet backing, so that when they Google your name, you have like multiple listings, like Google, what do you call them?
Yeah, like sites and, I don't know,
Yeah.
Citations.
See, we're not an expert in marketing either.
So when you meet someone and you pass out your business card or you tell them what you do, the first thing they're going to do is Google you and see, if they find nothing, then it probably means you're really not doing anything. So getting stuff out there in the press is super important, and leveraging that first project in the press really gets the word out there. And I think this slide is great because it shows another point, which is being intentional. So being intentional with your marketing, making sure that the brand image that you're promoting is consistent with what you're trying to portray, so that every time you release a project, it's really telling that story of that brand. And that brand could be yourself, it could be a group of people, it could be whatever, but it needs to all fit in to that bigger story that you're telling. So that project and the next one, they're all parts of that bigger story of the brands, because that's what you're selling and that's what's valuable to people.
So what you're doing at this point is you're creating a brand value, and that's very important. That brand value is going to tell your potential clients or anybody that looks at your website or any publication that you've been in or anything like that. It tells the people what you're about, who you are, what your style may be. And that's very, very important, because then that starts to narrow who your clients are. So in our case, our marketing scheme and our business personality that we try to portray is that we're like fun, friendly people that like to do young, energetic kind of projects. So we put out images along this line. us like jumping in graffiti or, and I think that as opposed to us with our headshots like this, standing, like so, with like fabric swatches behind us, or maybe you do something like this.
Oh, no, for husband and wife team, no engagement shoot pictures. We see so many of that. Avoid that.
Looks like an engagement shoot, or like a wedding photographer did your headshots. So that's not what we wanted. That may be what you wanted, and that's fine. That's your journey, but this was not our journey. So we put out marketing information, like all our marketing efforts are geared in this direction. So that was the sort of brand personality or the business personality that we wanted to portray. What happens is that when you say, this is who I am, so happens that the people who call you want that. Because if they wanted this headshot type of designer, they would call that person and not you. So you're starting to weed out, the clients you don't want just by the marketing that you're putting out. So that's really important, being intentional. Life lesson number 4.
And there are clients you don't want. We'll get to that.
You want to get to that now?
Well, we could get to that now. Yeah, I mean, for us, there is a list that we kind of go through, and in order to take a project, and this is not like in a selfish like, I don't want these projects. Of course, you want anybody who like wants to hire you, and you're gonna want to try to meet them and do a great job for them. But there are some things you don't want, and for us, that list is. It's either going to be like a financially feasible project where it's gonna be a good. It's 3. It's 2 of these 3 requirements. So it's the money for the project. It's the opening of doors. So if a project is going to open you to a new, like let's say you've never done retail design, that's your first retail. You want to get that under your belt. That might be a really attractive project for you to start that. Or if it's a new circle of people or working in a new neighborhood, whatever it may be, like that could be an opening of doors. And then the third one is going to be press. That's a really important one for us. Can this be a story in a magazine? I'm already looking at that before we decide to take on the project. Is this going to be a story in a magazine? Is it going to be in a book? Can it be in the internet? Is this going to be something interesting and relevant in what's going on in design? So, you can kind of just make your own criteria, and do what you like, but you have to have some kind of criteria to picking a client.
So just to close that, the marketing effort that you put out wants to be specific and intentional with the clients you're trying to get in. Like what you put in the world, you get back kind of thing. And then I think the most important thing is, I made a cute little thing, ready? Goal set, goal set, goal set. Isn't that cute? Because, wait for it, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. Sorry to give you like a little cheesy thing, but it's so true. So just like you saw that we started with like the magazines and the books and the TV appearance and all of that, that wasn't by accident. That was because we goal set. So for example, one of our long-term goals, because you set short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals, one of our long-term goals is that we want to write a book. So in order to know that, since we know that in the long term we want to have a book of our own, that means in the short term we're now starting to write blogs, starting to do things like that, so that in the long term we have this whole collection of blogs, whole collection of writings, whole collection of pictures and images that we can then compile into a book. If we didn't have the goal of writing a book in the far future, we wouldn't be doing these things now. So then we would just be going day by day, and then when we're already in the future, we wouldn't have that stuff for the book. Mm-hmm. You with me? So goal setting is incredibly important, and that's really important from goal setting like I said, we want to write a book and we want to be in magazines and TV articles and things like that. And also it's important in terms of financial. And this is something that is my personal heart. Don't get into debt. If there's one thing that you can take away from me, it's don't get into debt. Ruben and I, and this is our personal, I'm just like being transparent, one of our things is we don't use credit cards. We do not have a credit card in our name, just to ensure we can't get into debt. So we only do cash. We do debit card, but we only use cash, and that ensures there's no way we can accidentally get into debt, because getting into debt is an accident, usually. There are some times when you have like a medical situation or things like that go wrong in your life, and they're unavoidable, and that is what it is. But most of the time, like 90% of Americans get into debt by accident. And that's just because it was Christmas and I wanted to buy the extra thing, and then the next month, you know, my car broke down, and then the next month, it always happens that it's accidentally into debt.
It's a huge reason why entrepreneurs and careers kind of take changes, and you don't want that to be your reason for you to make a change in your career or your business that you're starting. So avoid that.
So if you want to like buy a computer for your business, save up for it, and then buy the computer when you have the cash. Meanwhile, if you don't have a computer, borrow one, go to the library, but don't get into debt so that you can have the computer faster, is my point. Okay? Because a lot of businesses fail because of debt. For example, the United States of America. I think you get my point, yeah? Okay. I didn't mean to make a political thing. I love my country, don't get me wrong. So, we goal set. And we shot at being an interior design firm, doing interior remodels, exterior remodels, kitchens, bathrooms, whole house, things like that. We also do simply decorating. So sometimes a client wants to call us in and they say, like, we have a great foundation, we just need to tweak it, something's not working, we'll come in and do that. So we'll do everything. Since we also have an architectural background, we can do everything from build a house from the ground up to furnish the house completely to set flowers on your dining room table. We also had a goal of doing retail design. That's something that we find incredibly interesting because it's very theatrics. It has a lot of theatrics, which is something that I personally like. I think you can tell, like, also in like our marketing strategy that we like theatrics and fun. Jump ahead, or you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So now we've gotten our first project, we've marketed the hell out of that project, and so now we're starting to get clients. Because what happens is that one client tells another one, tells another one, tells another one, and then you're starting to get a lot of phone calls, hopefully, if you do a good job. So Ruben was saying a project has to meet 2 of our 3 criteria in order for us to take it on, okay? And there's a lot of subcategories into that, but that's gonna be personal for you guys, so we'll just skip over that. But one of the things that he said was that it opens a door to a new circle of people. One thing that we have found to be absolutely true is that a lot of our business comes from word of mouth. And again, that goes back to tell everyone you know what you're doing. So since a lot of our business comes from word of mouth, that means that you want to actually do a good job for your clients because they're going to tell their friends about you, and their friends are your next client. So now you got your second client. So now you're starting to establish how you do this business, how it works. So we're going to walk you through how a project works for us. Again, you might take a different avenue, but we think we do a good job. So, okay, so here's a couple of before pictures of a kitchen that we've done. It turns out we've shown only kitchen projects. We do other things too. I don't know why. Kitchens are just very linear, I guess. So you're going to meet with a client for the first time, and now you are starting to meet with that person, and you want to get to know them from a lot of different angles to make sure that they fit what you want in a client. So let's say that you've taken on this client, right? You meet them in their kitchen, let's say. We're going to call them Client A. You meet with Client A, and they're going to tell you everything that's wrong with their kitchen. And you're going to get really personal. Again, this is where it goes back to business is personal. They're going to say, I have kids. I want to have another kid. We can't have kids. We have our senior parents living with us, or things like that. So they're going to start to get personal with you and tell you a lot about what their lives are, where they are, so that way you can design a better space for them. Because the personal life of your client hugely informs the decisions that you're going to be making for them and with them. Okay. So in this case, our clients simply said, we just don't like it. They had one kid, they weren't big entertainers, they just didn't like it. So in this case, it was a fun project of just making it better. There were some dysfunctional things and some little things that we wanted to build into it, like storage for their car keys, things like that we built in. But for the most part, they just felt that it was dated and ugly, but they wanted a white kitchen. Nope, okay. I just want to make sure I'm talking about you. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take all that information that you've gathered from that first meeting, and you're going to go back to your office or your home office or wherever you work, and you're going to write a proposal. And a proposal is very, 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 very important because what it does is it sets up your relationship with your client from the beginning. And one thing that I also want to stress to you is that your relationship with your client is hugely important. So it's not just a business transaction, because remember, it's personal, it's business. It's not just a business transaction, it's personal. So what your proposal does, although it's like kind of like a legal sort of a document, it really protects your relationship with your client. It also protects you financially, but most importantly, it protects your relationship with your client. So what this is going to do is it's going to set the stage for your project. It's going to say, it's going to say what your general assumptions are for the project. You know, it's going to say, we're doing your kitchen, so that later when they hire you, in 3 months later, they can't say, you said you were going to do our bathroom too. No, I didn't. Here's the proposal where it says just the kitchen, right? So you're going to want to spell out everything that you heard your client say that they want from you. Again, this is just to make sure they don't come back later and say, you said you were going to do, move the sink. No, we weren't originally going to move the sink, so that's not going to cost extra because the contractor and you have to cut the slab and blah, blah, blah. So spell out everything. And this is not you being nasty. This is just, again, protecting that relationship. Because if they think that they wanted more out of you and you're not giving them as much as they expected, then they're not going to like you and they're not going to refer you to their friend.
And you didn't go to law school, so don't try to write this yourself. Use a standard document or hire an attorney to write it for you or look over it, but don't rely on your own skills to write your contracts because you're probably going to miss something.
One thing that we do is we have like the first couple of pages are like in layman's terms where we write like in this example, I can't read it now, but like you said you wanted a kitchen with one sink, and then
it's our words and the attorney said that's okay and you can write it like that but then you need to have all the what if this happens, what if they fail to pay, what if you don't comply, what happens, and how do you mediate that, who pays for legal things, like all these things are kind of things you don't want to think about, but think about them because they can get you into trouble. And this is another place where design firms end because they didn't think of these legal things that can arise. So just be protected in that sense.
I'll give you a good example because I think examples drive home. We ordered a coffee table for a client. It was, let's say, $3,000, just for easy math. The coffee table came and it was damaged, so we sent it back. The coffee table came and she didn't like it, so we sent it back. On its way back, it was damaged. When the manufacturer received the coffee table, they said, it's damaged, I'm not going to refund your money. So the shipper said it wasn't their fault, and the receiver said it wasn't their fault, so whose fault is it? And it's not my fault, and it's not my client's fault, so if it's nobody's fault, who pays for it? Well, that needs to be spelled out in the proposal, because that means that you have to come out $3,000 out of your pocket to pay for that coffee table, because the buck always stops with you. And if your fee for that project was $3,000, you're screwed, basically. So that's why you need to have a lawyer also kind of back you up in that situation so that you can make sure if things go wrong, what happens. So, okay, you have your proposal, the clients sign it, everything's good to go, and now we're moving. So now our design process is much like this. We start with a series of renderings, and in some cases we do up like 3 renderings, which shows like maybe 3 different style directions that we can take it. In some cases, we've either worked with the client multiple times, we know them so well that we think we can just do one. So as far as like how much to present in your first design meeting with a client, you're gonna have to feel out. It's gonna be specific to the client, it's gonna be specific to the project, it's also gonna be specific to like how good you think you did.
And she also means like before you get the contract awarded, some people would actually present a solution and do some renderings to get that project. And some people won't do any work at all until they get at least first payment and a signed contract. So, that's very personal. We kind of usually don't do anything, again, unless it's something that is really going to propel our business or something that we find that it'll be worth investing in that and taking that risk. Because the risk is they could take that design and build it themselves and go another route. So, and it does happen. So just be open to that risk if you're going to do work without a contract. But
also sometimes it's a competition. Like right now we just won a competition to do a condo lobby, and there were other designers involved, and so all the designers had to come already with a design without pay, which we don't like because you don't get paid for your work unless you get chosen, and luckily we got chosen. So I saw some of your work and saw that some of you do renderings, or maybe all of you do renderings. I only saw some of your work, but your renderings look great. So this is like the type of rendering that we do for this particular kitchen. This is a particular rendering that we ended up going with. And you can see that we do renderings of elevations. And the reason I'm showing you this is not all people understand design talk and design drawings. So not all clients are going to understand an elevation with elevation markers and section cuts and all of those like architectural interior designer like lingo and language that we speak through drawings. Your clients aren't going to really, usually they don't understand that language. And that's not a bad thing, but it's our job and it's up to us to show them our vision in a way that they can understand. So how we do it is we do renderings like this. We do a combination of 2D, 3D renderings. So this is like maybe an example of a combination 2D, 3D rendering. And it shows like what each elevation will look like. And we think it's important to show, in this particular case, like a kitchen, a 2D rendering so that a client can say like, I don't want 3 drawers here. I would rather have 2 doors with drawers inside. And then they start getting like into the details of how many spatulas do they have, and they have a baby, so they need bottles, so they need doors, or they don't need, all of that stuff. So another really cool thing about a rendering, you're going to be really impressed with this slide. Watch this corner right there. You can show a client what different options will look like. Oh, I was expecting like a wow. I'm going to do it again and then you can say wow. So you can show them what different options look like. Oh my gosh, they were so impressed with that, you see? So clients really like this, like I said, like you can say, here's what open shelving will look like, here's what closed shelving looks like, which one do you like better, what are the benefits, what are the pros and cons, and so you're really going to talk about all the details with your clients, like every little detail, and like I said, it's very personal. They're going to say, oh, I don't care about dust and open shelving, I have a cleaning lady, it's no big deal. Or they're going to say like, I have 3 boys, they make so much dust, I can't have open shelving. So this is when being personal with your clients is really going to pay off because they're going to be so much more happy with the project in the end. Mm-hmm. And the examples that we're showing and what we're talking about is residential design, but this is very, very true with commercial design too. It just in a different way. Like we worked with a CEO of an investing company. He makes literally billions of dollars, and we're designing one chocolate shop for him. It's still the same thing. They still care about all the little details. Usually it's more about like monetary details, but nonetheless, they still care about all the details. So still being very personal with that person is very helpful. So we've shown you the renderings of each side of the kitchen separate, like in 2D, 3D drawings. So then we show like a 3-dimensional view of what all of that will come together to be. So now we're talking about style, we're talking about functionality because we've already gone through like how many drawers versus doors, open shelving, not open shelving, and here's what that will look like. So this is what your space is going to feel like with all that functionality built in.
And with these, during the meeting, we'll bring like samples and, like a countertop sample and all these other things so they can actually kind of feel and see that aspect of it too.
Okay, so the whole time we're doing this project with our clients, project organization is a huge factor. And here's a way that we make sure our projects are organized. This is what we call a purchase order. And we present a purchase order for every project that we do. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can read the text, but on the left, there's a picture of every item. The next column is the vendor, so where that item comes from. The item number, if it's applicable. Then the retail price, the quantity, delivery fees, taxes, all of that stuff. So that the whole process, or through the whole project, the client is very aware of where every dollar is going. Because especially with residential design, you're working with people's hard-earned income. And when you're working with people's hard-earned income, you want to make sure 2 things. 1, you're being respectful of it and it's being appropriated correctly. And 2, that you build trust with your client. So you want to be very transparent so that there's never like an option or that there's never a doubt in their mind that you're honest. So this is one way that we prove our honesty, or that we can do our best to prove our honesty, is to show where it comes from and how much it costs, and etc., so that a client can actually go back and check. We find it very important, like I said, business is personal, and to have a good relationship with your client means trust is very important. So this is one of the ways that we do it. Meanwhile, this is a very good project management skill to have under your belt, just to make sure that you also know what you said you were going to buy, how much it costs, so that you are also taking care of your own finances, because if you overspend or underspend,
I think way long gone are the days when you would just get one big bill at the end of a design project and you never really know how much you're spending on each thing. Our clients want to know they're educated. There's internet out there. They're going to shop around. They're going to want to know what things are costing and what they're choosing. And they might say, "I love the room, but that lamp it's too expensive. I don't want to spend that much money on a lamp." And then we could take that one piece out. It doesn't kill the whole design. It doesn't kill everything. So that is so helpful. There's really no other way to do it than to be clear and evident with it.
Yeah, so meanwhile we're doing that.
And another thing is there's also, we charge a design fee, right, to doing the project. There's another model of design firms that do just a markup. They'll do a 20 or 40% markup on everything that they purchase. You can choose whichever one is right for you. I think the industry is moving towards doing more of a fee and, charging a retail price for things.
Or hourly.
Or an hourly fee. But for us, we find that a fee for a scope is the best way. It keeps it as fair as possible, because your time is worth what it is, and then that's what you're getting compensated for. And whether they're buying a sofa at IKEA or at Holly Hunt, that doesn't really affect your earnings in a big way. So
I want to touch on that.
Okay.
Because it's very hard to hit the target with your fee. Because let's say that you assume a project will take 10 hours, it will always take you 20.
Oh, yeah.
Always, it just does. And always...
You're always at that losing end of that fee every single time.
Always, you're always at the losing end. So that's why it's common for interior designers to charge an hourly fee, so that at the end of the month you bill your client and you say, I've worked 50 hours, pay me X number of dollars times 50 hours. That's why other interior designers do, you ordered, $100,000 worth of furniture, here's my 40% markup on that, and then that's the money that they take home. Yeah?
So which one did you said the markup is less acceptable or not acceptable?
It depends.
Different interior designers do it many different ways. And we told you 3 ways, but I'm sure there are more ways than what we've said. And there's also variations of what we said too. Like there's a small fee with a lot of markup, or a little bit of markup with a lot of fee, and sometimes there's a combination of those. We charge a flat fee. The reason that we do that is because I feel it again maintains an honest relationship with our client, so they're never going to question a bill. They're never going to say, you really worked 30 hours on one blah, blah, blah. Like, really, that took you 30 hours? And then it's like, yeah, because I had to go there twice, and then it came broken, and then you have to, explain yourself. So we've found that a flat fee keeps everything honest and keeps everything up and up, so that the relationship between you and your client is fair. And
they know what they're getting into. They know what it's going to cost before they sign the contract. Otherwise, it's open-ended, I don't know really where this journey is going to take us. So usually our clients don't want that open-ended, but that's our clients. Some people do it that way, and they do an hourly fee, and it's super successful for them. So you just have to feel out your clients and what their needs are.
True.
But then after that, stay true to whatever it is you do is what you do.
For example, with the chocolate shop that we did with that really, really, really billion-dollar investor that owns banks, owns basketball team, we worked hourly because it was a franchise and we were opening multiple chocolate shops. So there was really no way that we could put a flat fee on multiple chocolate shops on multiple counties and all of that. So in that case, the client actually requested that we work more hourly. So again, feel out your client. Feel out the project, feel out you and your financial capabilities too, and choose the right thing for you.
It takes a lot of money to send out that many bills and to calculate all your hours and to put that all together. So take that into account too. That's going to cost you time to doing that. yes.
So that's a flat fee, whether you're doing a kitchen or a bathroom or a garage? Or anything?
No, it's a flat fee based on the scope. So when you go back and you meet with them, you're going to decide what the whole scope is. You're going to come back and with your experience on what that project took in the previous time, you're going to know it's going to take me about 30 hours to do this, and then you base your flat fee based on that.
Okay, so you're getting started, you're under construction. In this case, we're still showing you the progress of this one kitchen. So here it is under construction. Well, now you can see all the cabinets are in and that antique mirror hood, which is really impressive, don't you think? And here's us at the marble yard where we like went ourselves and picked the marble, which is something that I think is really important too. Hold on, I'm gonna skip a slide. One thing that we find very important is to be very hands-on with our projects, because you guys know even in your school projects, like the difference between oak and cedar is very different, and it's all wood, but it feels different, it looks different between those two. So being able to like see the material and have your hands on the material and actually go pick it yourself, all those details make all the difference in the world in our projects. I mean, we all know that.
I like this. We get dirty. I mean, there's really no snobbery when it comes to us coming to their house. I've talked to other clients where it's like, my designer wouldn't, you know, she wouldn't like take her thing, whatever. Like, no, like that's me painting someone's wall, like we're trying to sample out. Like, definitely for us, we're very hands-on when it comes to installations, when it comes to like being there when the contractor's there. And that's how you ensure a great final product, and your clients really appreciate that because they need those eyes on the project as it's going in. That's where mistakes happen, and expensive mistakes. So I personally love to be involved in the building of it too. So
I think one thing is true, don't quote me, but pretty much all contractors suck. Pretty much they do. And even the best one still at the end of the day is gonna let you down in some way. You're gonna say running bond and they're gonna install, you know, brick pattern, you know, like you assume they speak the same language as you, but they really don't, and they just all kind of miss the mark somewhere. So it's really important to be eyes and ears and hands on the ground at all times. Okay, so another thing that we do, and this is not true for every project, but some projects, meeting notes are important. So anytime that you're meeting with a contractor or laborer or anybody that's really a large chunk of the money spent on a project, you want to make sure that that's managed. And so one of the ways we do it is through meeting notes. And here's an example of what our meeting notes outline or form looks like. So it has like the date, the name, who's there, how many people were there, and then here's where it says like electrical work, who said what, when did they say they would do that, when did they say they would do it by, when is it going to be finished, is there a cost increase associated with that task. So in any construction project, this is a must. If it's just furnishing, not so much a must, but you're still going to want to keep this in your mind as far as like managing to-do lists. Mm-hmm. And then again, just to talk about like brand value, all of our forms have this same margin at the top, margin at the bottom, on the sides, and it always has our logo and our contact info on the left, and it always has everything right, justified, you know what I mean? So all of the documentation that you put out has to do with your brand value, right? Because you know you're creating a brand.
And I kind of think all designers and architects have like this inner, like, I wish I was a graphic designer, and we're not. So also get a graphic designer to look at this, because you're going to want it to be consistent. You're going to spread it, you know, throughout a lot of things. So the size of the text, the proportions of it, all of it is important, and it makes your image, it completes that image.
Yes, hire a graphic designer, hire a lawyer, hire an accountant. Always hire an accountant. Speaking from experience, and again, just to be very personal and honest with you, we're still literally paying monthly for a mistake that we made our first business year in taxes. So hire an accountant, don't go into debt. Okay, but all of that being said, and I know we said don't go into debt, and I really, really mean that. So if at the beginning you can't hire a graphic designer, Mac templates are brilliant. Okay, so Mac templates if you can't hire an interior designer.
Yeah, but they come to this school with all these creative people. I'm sure you have friends.
Ask a friend in the creative industry. Yeah, you have all the.
You have so many resources here.
So many resources.
Yeah.
Really good example. Okay, so here's the finished product of that kitchen. Here's some details of it. You can see that I didn't put the picture of, we have a concealed hidden key storage at one of the cabinet panels. You push it, there's no handle, you just push it, and when you open the door, there's the alarm panel and all the keys hang inside that concealed thing.
To get to this finished product, this was probably a year in the making, right? What happens during that year is you may be going over budget, you may have some falling out with a contractor. There's a lot of things that are going to kill the momentum of the project. So I think it's up to the designer to keep it exciting, keep that momentum going for yourself. I know we love the beginning of a project, it's so exciting, but then it gets stale. So you want to really protect against that and keep that momentum going so you can actually get to the very end, because clients would drop off.
Why does a project get stale, Ruben?
They get stale because of all the things that arise in it. There's business that goes through, there's a million reasons why it gets stale.
Because of challenges? Oh, which leads me to my next slide. Challenge makes the champion. Sorry to give you another one of these cheesy things, but that's how I work. I literally have Post-it notes of stupid cheesy little sayings like this, because for me, they're very uplifting and they work. I know if you're having a bad day and someone's like, cheer up, it'll get better. You're like, shut up. So I know those cheesy little mantras are stupid, but just bear with me because they really do actually work for me. But a challenge makes the champion, and it's so true. Another way to say it is smooth seas make poor sailors. If nothing goes wrong and there's never a challenge, there's never the opportunity for you to be a champion. I have one anecdote. This is maybe stupid, but I'm here, so you have to listen. One time when I was working in my architecture firm day job back before we had Errez Design, my project manager asked me to print out a flyer for the event that we were going to. And this event was the mayor was there, the city council members were there, the owner of the building was there. And it's probably a $10 million building that we had built from the ground up. Again, this was architecture. And are you familiar with LEED? Yeah, okay. So this was a LEED Gold project. And at that time, this was 10 years ago now, at that time, to have a LEED Gold building was you are the shit. LEED Gold was you did that? Whoa. So we had achieved LEED Gold on this project. Well, through the course of the project, we were achieving milestones. So we had achieved bronze, and then we had achieved silver. It wasn't until the building is done where you get your final certification to be gold, right? So when we spent $500 to get these beautiful postcards, so we were gonna hand them out at the party, and I had printed the old form. I printed a LEED silver. So that's really bad. And so what I did was I said, listen, Javier was his name. I said, listen, Javier, I'm really sorry. I accidentally printed the silver because it was the old file name, and the file didn't upload into the right thing and whatever. So I thought it was the updated, but it wasn't. So he was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? I'm like, don't worry, I have it under control. I ran back and I printed on sticky paper the revised LEED Gold with all the information, and I sticky papered it on, and I went to the paper cutter and I was cutting it all out, and I redid 500 of these brochures. And the president of my architecture firm found out about what happened, and he came to me and he said, I'm so impressed with how you did the sticky paper and you made it happen. He went around to every single project manager in our office, and it was a big firm, and he was like, did you see what Katie did? These came wrong, and she reprinted this whole thing in the sticky paper and she made it work. Can you believe she did that? So he went around telling everybody a story about how I was a champion, but he never told anybody that I was the problem. And I think that is so true, and that event or that time in my life has made a big impact on me, because I was wow, the story at the end of the day wasn't my problem. The story at the end of the day was how I was a champion. And that is so true with every project that you'll do. There's always going to be problems. I promise you will never have a project that doesn't have a problem. I promise. So the whole point of all of this is there's always going to be a problem, there's always going to be a challenge, but at the end of the day, you want to be a champion coming out of that problem. You don't want to let it defeat you. You don't want to let it make you feel like you failed, because failure actually at the end of the day is only an opportunity to be a champion. You like that?
And so we have just a few minutes left, so we'll take, you could just let the other slides roll, and we'll just take questions. If anybody has questions. Yes.
Where did you guys come up with your name for your firm?
Oh,
Good question.
okay. Can anybody guess?
Last name.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Our last name is Gutierrez, and so we just took the Errez part of the Gutierrez.
It has no meaning, and sorry to disappoint you.
I thought naming a business was the hardest thing, but actually naming my son was like way harder.
What's his name?
James.
An easy name.
His name is Francois. No, his name is James.
Yeah, just press play.
Yeah. These are just some projects that we were going to talk about the challenges, but
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm completely new to the world of design, so as compared to having two interior designers compared to possibly working on your own, how have you found that that's kind of helped you guys as a team and kind of grown throughout the years working together?
Well,
question.
That's a good question. And also we're married, so that comes up with a whole new challenge. I think on your own is probably, well, together is great because we have different strengths and we bring different things to the table. But that's a whole nother relationship you have to keep. Business partners of any sort, it's a whole nother relationship that you have to maintain. So it's not just you and your client, it's you, your business partner, and your client. So I find that it actually makes it challenging for a lot of people to have a business partner, especially at the beginning. And you may think, well, if I have a business partner, I have more money, I have more capability, and maybe I'm going to get my business started a little faster. And usually the business partners end up splitting at some point. So just be careful with that. For us, there's no option to split, so so we have to stick it out, and we grew through those strengths. But I hope that answers your question.
I think one big challenge of working by yourself is that you're your own accountability. So in the morning when we wake up to go to work, he can't sleep in because I'm up, and he can't be late because I'm already in the car, and he can't miss a meeting because I'm also there to remind him. So there's a lot of accountability that comes with working with a partner. So, but as a business owner, accountability and being your own gusto is very, very hard. And that's one of the biggest challenges of working by yourself and even working with us. Because there are some days that he wakes up and he's like, I just want to sit on the sofa with a donut. And I'm like, okay, I'll go get the donut, So sometimes we also bring each other down in our own misery loves company kind of a thing. But then also there are some times when he can say I just feel like I failed with this project, or I feel like there's a problem, and I say, you can do it, challenge makes the champion, but you don't need it to be a business partner. It could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be your best friend, it could be your boyfriend or your husband, or, or a teacher. I mean, you definitely need a mentor. You definitely need somebody to ride the ride with you, to help bring you up when you feel down, or, help guide you, or, if you don't have a question you don't know about drywall, then you could call this person, or, so, but there's not necessarily one perfect person to be your partner through this whole journey together. Sometimes he'll say something encouraging and I want to smack him, and I'll go call my friend, who is a stay-at-home mom, and she doesn't know anything about business. You know what I mean? So there's no right answer for everybody, but it can be done. Many people do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you both from Miami, and how do you feel like Miami has played into your design style in the growing of your business?
Yes, we're both from Miami. And how does Miami?
I'm fourth generation from Miami, so I'm really from Miami.
I'm first generation Miami, so kind of from Miami.
I think that question is true no matter where you live. Definitely you're inspired by the things around you and the culture that surrounds you. I mean, there's a very big Latin influence in Miami, so for us, color and all of that definitely is more prevalent in our design world. For example, this wall is a wall of palm tree leaves, so that kind of a thing. We're inspired by everything around us, and also the vendors around us carry things that are
Go to the environment.
yeah, or
For
are
sure.
relevant to the culture.
Vernacular design.
Vernacular design.
But you design projects elsewhere besides Miami, or just Are you just
Well, we have a project in Colorado.
It's 10 minutes from here.
Yeah, so we have.
so then you would use the local vernacular for those designs?
So that's a good question. Like for the project here, we're relying a lot on knowledge of people that are here, kind of tell us, especially when it comes to like what materials to use and what works outside and how do you treat windows and what happens with snow. I don't know what happens with snow. I have no idea. I've never lived in snow, so
We've
it's
only
a learning
seen snow
process.
twice. Like seen it twice.
And hopefully we can keep it that way.
No, the storm comes on Saturday. We're leaving Friday.
We're leaving Friday.
We're taking our weather with us. But I think one answer to that question too is your client is going to be the larger influencer to what the style ultimately is of the project. So even if you're working in Colorado, if your clients are from Miami, they might want vernacular. Yes, you have to be sensitive to the environment, but they might want a little bit more glamour or a little bit more whatever is specific to them. And that's true with residential, and it's very true with commercial as well, because also if you're working with a franchise and that franchise is nationwide, that design is going to be brand oriented and not necessarily vernacular.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes.
So how long did it take you guys to like kind of develop your like kind of business from like the start until like your first project? Like, do you have
Wow. So
Good
that
question.
was probably 4 days.
Ooh, can I do it?
Yeah.
You are already developing your brand.
That's a good one.
So, like, whatever is your mom's favorite story to tell about you when you were a kid, that story has already helped define you, and it's going to help define your brand. So your brand is being developed since birth, okay? So for us, that's true. Like, our personalities made that picture of us jumping. You know what I mean? So your brand is already being developed, okay? So you already have, let's say you're 20, you already have 20 years of brand development under your belt, okay?
But exactly time, like from when we said yes, open to yes, doing
like
the.
a thing, and then like and then
We spent 4 days doing, because like I told you, we made it public. We said this is what we want to do. The first project was thrown at us, and that meeting was 4 days after we made that phone call. So we came up with a name, we came up with logo, like everything.
For that first client meeting.
I mean, it was in the making, like she said, but actual time was 4 days. And I think that was good that we had that hard deadline meeting to kind of come up with it, because if not, you could spend a lot of time, too much time preparing and never really take the plunge. So that was good. Yes.
So, and did you keep your day jobs at the beginning?
Good question.
That's a
Very
very
good
good
question.
question. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So there was an overlap period. And that's a struggle that I think a lot of people in our industry are going to face, and there comes a point
So-
where you're more needed in one place or another. But
So
I think
for us, and everybody's
Yeah.
journey is going to be different. For us, we worked in our day jobs, yes, because we couldn't afford to take that first kitchen project. Our fee, I think, was like $5,000. I can't live on $5,000. And especially that project took us 6 months. So $5,000 over 6 months, clearly you can't live on that, So in the beginning, you can't afford to live on just that one project or the 2 projects, So we did stay at our day jobs, making our salaries, nice salaries with benefits and retirement and health insurance and the whole thing. And so we worked there. And then at night, we were up until 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 nights a week working on this project. And that was very hard. So it came to a point where it was a gradual progression into, we have so much Errez Design work that we were like starting to take days off from our day job, like ask for a vacation day because I had to go to the marble yard or I had to travel to another city for a client meeting. And so then I started to take days off. And then I took a week off. And then it started to become like, okay, now I'm taking time away from my day job to start working on this. And there was enough time needed that the money could support the time away from my day job.
And you may have to cut things out at the beginning. I mean, you have to do what it takes. That's a
You don't
that's
eat
a
out,
very hard.
But you're not eating
road.
out also because you're back at home, in our case, at
You're
home,
working. You don't have time to go eat out.
So you're not eating
There's
out.
no eating out. But yeah, and then I would also want to add to that, make sure you're honest throughout the process. Like, don't make believe that you're trying to climb the corporate ladder in your work and then on your side, because you will be found out, and that's not where you want. your reputation to be. So, you know, keep the integrity and do say like my ultimate goal is to move on, you know, but I'm here for you for this time, and hopefully that works for everyone, because you don't want to be unfair to your employer either.
I still to this day am invited to the Christmas parties of my old firm. I still keep in touch with the presidents of those firms.
Yeah, and because we were honest and open with them, they helped us. Like they helped us throughout the project. It's name a couple of clients they introduced us to, because they get projects that they don't want or that are not the right fit for them, and they can pass it on to us. So for sure, be open and clear and honest, and integrity is huge. So keep that. Yeah.
You guys really stress like networking.
Yeah.
How do you suggest really getting into networking with more than just like maybe your classmates or friends that you already have? Like, did you go to big events with like
Good question.
your networking events or?
So my first job at my architecture firm was from a student that I went to high school with. So don't devalue these people, because these people are the next generation of corporate, maybe not corporate, but like business owners and corporate people. So this is a big network for you, because one of your classmates is going to do corporate design and you're going to do residential design, and then she's going to get called for a residential project that she doesn't do, and it's going to get passed to you, and vice versa. And so this is a core, really good network for you in here. So, but above that, we do things like tell everybody we know, Facebook and the whole thing, and then each one of your clients that you work with, they're going to be your biggest cheerleaders. So we do things like send them thank you notes when they refer you to somebody, to encourage them to keep telling people about you. Also, we send like Christmas cards to all our past clients. Things like that. There may or may not be a client in this room, one of our clients in this room, so I want to be careful about our tricks that we say. I'm just kidding. But Christmas cards and things like that. So you want to keep in touch with your past clients, because they're your biggest cheerleaders. Other things beyond that we do are join networking groups. Mm-hmm. Like there are professional networking groups that all they do is network, and they meet to network, and then they have events where they network, and it's all about networking.
We're part of the Young Collectors group at our local museum. So you want to like participate in all those things that you're naturally interested in, and you're going to find other people that have similar views that are going to want to use your services, and you're going to probably want to use theirs. So yeah, for sure, networking is huge.
Also, there are things that you can take advantage of that are free too, like local business clubs. Like as women, there's like there's like women, what's it called? Well, it'll be different from state to state too, but there's like women groups, women business groups. So there's stuff like that you can be involved in. Now I'm a mom, so I'm involved in like mom groups. So don't discredit any opportunity to network. It doesn't have to be like, I'm here to business network. It can just be like, your kid's so cute. Oh, you need an interior designer? You know what I mean? So I'm a member at the Children's Museum, and I go to all the things, and I make friends with all the moms. And so, but I think the most important thing is that it's an honest process. You honestly do like this person and their kid. You honestly do like the museum. Like we're part of the museum, so we actually do like the museum. So so it's just about getting yourself out there and being like a social person, I guess, in places that you actually do like.
Yeah, you can't spend 95% of your time working and only 5% building that next client, because then you're going to have lapse. So make it more of a like maybe 30-70 or even 60-40%, so that you're spending a lot of time investing in the future, because that's where your new clients are going to come from. It's very important.
Yeah.
Do you both work on every project together? And if so, is one more in control of design and the other in control of something else, or how does that work?
Good question.
So we had that challenge at the beginning. We would both do all projects, and now we've kind of decided, you're going to project manage this, I'm going to project manage this, so that there's one contact person for your client. There's one person that they know to call when there's a problem. And so that's how we do it. So we do have a leader for each project, and it's just whoever one of us can take it.
In the beginning, I think we were mentioning before that we have like strengths and weaknesses that pair nicely together. Like Ruben is actually very good at renderings. I'm not the best renderer. He's also very good at hand drawing. It's one of my biggest weaknesses. Hand drawing is not my biggest skill. I can do it, but it's not like I feel like so confident to like be in front of everybody and just draw something. No. So he'll do like rendering and drawings, and then I'm really good with like client relations and stuff like that. So like I'll go to meetings and things like that. So we used to do it strengths and weaknesses combined on every project. But it turned out that a client would call me, and then Ruben was actually the one managing the selection of the marble, but then she'd call me about the selection of the marble, and then I wouldn't know what she was talking about because Ruben told the guy and I didn't know that he told the guy, and then started to get like a little complicated and cumbersome as far as like communication between client and things and whatever happening. So then we had to say, here's a challenge that we need to be champions over, and we said we need to have a project manager assigned to each project. So we still help out. Like Ruben will still help me out with a rendering, and I'll still help him out with whatever my strengths are. I don't know.
And we share ideas together. We design together.
Yeah.
But we each take leads on separate projects.
Mostly for client contact reasons.
So I think we have time for one more question, and then they'll be doing our portfolio reviews that start at 3 o'clock, and see if, so you guys will get an opportunity to meet with them and have them review your works. But maybe one more question, or not?
That's like nobody wants to take the last slice of pizza.
All right.
Okay, well, in closing, like we're here for you guys. This is the reason why we're here, is for you. Like we're at your service. We want to be servants to you. So if there's anything that we can do for you, sure you can have like get our email address or contact information.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to shoot us questions about anything, even if it's like, which color do you like better? Or if it's like, what should I do in my life? Or what should I do with this business thing? Or whatever, like feel free. We're here for you. This is why we're here. So feel free to ask us anything or reach out for any reason. Yeah?
I don't have a question, so this doesn't count, so someone still needs the last question. Karina, maybe you and Nancy could send out.
Ooh, too much?
Maybe you guys could do that. So maybe you guys could send out Katie and Ruben's email address to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
be happy to share. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'd be
for
happy to help you with
offering.
anything.
For sure.
Appreciate that.
Or if you want an internship in Miami,
That might be opening up.
Thank